Hello, and welcome to episode number 27 of the Marriage Coach Podcast, where we are here to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving.
In today's podcast, we'll be talking about lessons learned in dating. I think it's very clear for us to clarify what we mean by dating.
Mm-hmm.
That we're not saying you're in a full-blown relationship. And I think a lot of times that's where we get confused because people on different pages, I'm still in the dating process. Like I'm still collecting data and you think that we're boyfriend and girlfriend. You hadn't set boundaries. What they call it is defining the relationship talk. You hadn't had that defining the relationship talk. Or, but it's so many synonyms, it's so you're like, yeah, we talking, but I ask clarifying questions. Well, what does that mean? Because like it's semantics, it can get a little bit confusing. But what the gist of it is that you hadn't assigned titles or you hadn't set boundaries, or the litmus test is if you rolled up to his house and there's another female there and she say, I'm his girlfriend, would there be some confusion? That there's different levels to dating, because you may meet someone and say, okay, I feel like we're vibing, we have some things in common, let's agree not to see other people. But you may not be in a full relationship at that point.
Absolutely.
And I've done online dating. I've tried different sites. I've done the Christian sites, and no bashing, but they were probably worse than the other sites.
I heard
Lesson learned.
Right, lesson learned. Like, just because you put the Christian title in front of it doesn't mean that the experience may be different, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I can meet somebody face to face, and they still can be XYZ, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like online, because you think about it, unless somebody introduced you to somebody, or somebody in their friends or their network, it's still, you don't know this person. So it's the same thing. So I think it was a false layer of security that people like, oh, you don't know who you're meeting. Shoot, you don't know who you're meeting face to face either. So I watched that show. Who the bleep did I marry?
Yeah. Because I was about to say, like, it could be someone that Cedric and I could know a person. And you could meet him because you had a barbecue at our house, but maybe he's never shown us that side of him, and we don't know how responsible he is as far as in relationships. You just know it depends upon how deep you know them. You just know what they show you. So even if you be like, oh, I've been friends with him for 10 years, you still only know what he shows you. You don't live with him unless, there are some people that you're close with, that they're almost like family. And you like, yeah, he all right, but he need a little, she okay. She just needs some whatever. But the only thing that you can do is get to know a person. And when Cedric and I were talking, the conversation started because I was talking to someone else about dating, and they were saying, that they've talked to different people and just conversating through text messages or conversating on the phone or whatever. And they basically said the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's a Christian site or if it's a Christian group or if it's, just meeting somebody on Facebook. You could have good and bad in either or. And sometimes I think, and I can only speak for women because I talk to more women. I am a woman. A lot of times women jump in and go deep real quick. Like, somebody for 6 weeks and you already, scribbling their last name on a piece of paper. Somebody for 6 weeks, you already ready to move in with them and all of that. And again, for some people that may work out perfect and they may be the love of your life. But then for others, how many more experience that, it's like it ain't working.
I think a big disadvantage for women as well is a lot of time women give too much information too quick.
Listen,
woman,
ladies.
a woman would, a woman they want to talk about the last relationship, what he did wrong. So it makes it easy for a man to just be the opposite of what she talked about, and, pretend to be the shining armor. you telling the man what you like on the first date, and you telling him everything. You giving him the ins and outs, and the only thing he have to do is just repeat what you said. And the thing about it, most of the time the woman is talking so much she don't even realize all the things she done told. So now she's calling her girlfriend like, "Ooh, I think he the one. He the one. He's everything I ever look for in a man." It's like you told him everything you look for in a man. So I mean, I think that's a disadvantage. Just really just being careful and really slowing down before you give out too much information.
Yeah, that's an excellent
Care
point.
how much you share.
Yeah, really is the purpose of dating, and I think we discussed that, is
Mhm.
you're there to get data, and it's not for you to just give all the data in the world, but it's also for you to listen, because and what do I hope to get from that process? But the analogy that I was told was the difference between being a buffet. You walk in, you can see everything that's laid out before you, versus being a fine dining. You're in a really, really expensive restaurant when they don't even put the price in the menu.
Exactly.
Or if
Exactly.
you really go to that next level, they don't even have a menu. So you just can't walk in and get all the information at once. Like a buffet, you can see everything they're offering at once. But it's not a game at all, like, oh, this cat and mouse game, like I'm trying to keep some information back. But
Right.
it's a process of discovery. It's a journey. And I think so many times we view dating as a destination, but dating is a process. It's to get information. And one of the things I like about it is that dating is, for me, is value-based dating and not need-based dating. So value-based dating is, I'm really trying to ascertain, do we have the same core values? Because we might grow as people. There are certain things that may change. However, the core values of you are not going to change. And that is what's going to be the solid foundation for a healthy relationship. And
Yeah.
then two, do I even want to be his friend? I think sometimes we go and we just want to have that romantic feeling. You don't even like the person.
That's true.
Absolutely.
That's true. And that's something to think about, because there are certain things that you just have to have a mindset that I'm not compromising on. And it should not be things that, someone can change, just 30 days they can change, 60 days they can change, or something they can work towards changing. But the things that are important to you, the things that you base your life on. For instance, we are Christian, we are believers. If I were dating and I'm dating someone and be like, I ain't with that God stuff, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's not somewhere I should compromise. Oh, well, maybe once I take him to my church, he gonna change his mind. No, that's you gotta make sure. To me, that's one of the things that the old saints used to say, y'all unequally yoked.
Yeah.
And it comes to that in so many other things, that you believe in family, you believe in togetherness, and this person's like, I ain't with all that. I don't want to be hanging out with you family. I don't want to spend time with your kids. I don't want to do none of that. You have to think about these things. So I think that's a lesson for us to learn too, as well. Definitely make sure that when you are collecting this data, I like the way you said that you
Yeah, that's
collecting
good.
data while you're dating, and that means you're getting to know them. You're getting information about them, not
Yeah.
like you necessarily being Magnum PI, but you are learning things about them. You said not to talk so much. So we're having great communication skills.
Yeah.
If you're driving, you have to read signs, right? So you have to read signs to know when to detour. Otherwise, you can run into a barrier, or you can run into a barricade. You can go somewhere where you're stuck because you didn't read the signs. And so if you're not listening, you won't hear the signs. You won't see in conversations those yellow flags popping up. Maybe you need to be a little cautious right
Yeah.
here, or even the red flags, like, no, this ain't working. And with that being said, if you hear something that's a complete red flag for you that goes against your morals, why do we don't push past that? We're not pushing past that, because if this is a deal breaker for me, I'm not gonna try to, let's see, because you're dating and you are getting to know that person. And if it's completely out of whack, then
I think a lot of times men get used in the dating process that the woman really has no genuine interest, but it's just trying to extract. Could be a free meal, pay a bill. I've heard men of all ages say this, and I'm just like, wow. So it does make them a little bit leery.
I think one of the disadvantages for men is the fact of sometimes you have women, they really not trying to get in a relationship. They just trying to get somebody to pay their bills.
Yep.
They
Right,
just
right, right.
you have single mothers. They just trying to find a father to help raise their
Wow, that's
child.
true, true,
I mean, you
true.
have somebody else. They just trying to buy grocery for their kids. They just trying to. I mean, it's like so for a man aspect. I mean, you have to really be careful. You thinking you getting in a relationship by providing, because that's what men do. We're providers. So you're providing. You're contributing to the household, friends, and you like now you're heartbroken. So we have to really. I think we have to really understand, and I think from a man perspective, it's really understanding and really know who you are in the relationship.
Yeah.
Are
Oh,
you
wow.
just a friend that just buying groceries, or is this relationship going somewhere? So I think that's one thing from a man perspective, is not just assuming, but establishing that from the beginning. Like, hey, is this relationship going somewhere? No, I want this to be deeper than what it is. I want to take this relationship to the next level. But if you're not ready for that, I mean, I need to know right now, because I'm investing, because that's what men do. I mean, we're providing. So it's like I'm providing. I'm doing everything.
Hmm.
I'm playing father. I done took over. I'm taking the son to the park. I'm taking the daughter. Just really knowing, understanding where you are. It's like, okay, are we in the friend zone, or we get into the relationship? So I think that's for my brothers. I mean, you really ask that question. I mean, don't assume. Know from the get go. Like, hey, where's this relationship and where we trying to go?
Red means stop. Like I think
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
we over complicate things. Like you say, there's a difference between a yellow a yellow light
Um,
and a red light. You may not get a ticket, depends on where you're at. If
Mhm.
you run a yellow light, if you're already in the intersection. But if you run that red light, there are consequences to that. And it's the same thing in dating, that there are consequences to that.
right.
The thing is that you have to, when you feel a check or you see something that gives you pause, that's unsettling to you,
Yeah.
you have some two choices to make. Is
Mm.
this part of my deal breaker that, like you say, I can't move beyond, that's detrimental to building a healthy relationship? Or is this something that I need to explore? I need some more information about. So do I have enough information to make this decision that I want to walk away, or do I want to stay? And it's like approaching that. But I think a lot of times, and someone told me this earlier today, especially as women, we invest our time and our treasure into situations and people that are not worthy of it. And I've lived that. That's been some of my lived experiences in dating. But I've learned to be really, really wise to spot, to have discernment in the process, to what Maya Angelou says. When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Like if someone is showing me early on very inconsistent communication patterns, but without any, rhyme or reason to it in a sense, then that's something that I'm like, okay, that's not something I'm deal with, or in a sense, or whatever. So it's like, what are the things? But I think it goes back to what we talk about a lot. It's self-awareness. It's like you come into the dating process knowing what you want, knowing who you are,
Yeah.
knowing your core values, and knowing the things that are deal breakers, some of the things that, are in your gray box. Like it's almost like you have these different buckets, and you have to know what's in each bucket for you in order for you to really maximize this process. Because if not, if you approach dating haphazardly, and I've done it before, you can walk away bitter, jaded, upset,
Mm.
and that's where it gives birth to statements like all men are dogs, I'm done dating, all this other stuff. But a lot of times it's like you have to check you. What did you contribute to this process? What was your role in this whole process?
Mm.
Mm. Wow, that's good. What do you think? What are some things that change for you as far as dating?
Oh man. And I guess I'm about to be really transparent. One of the biggest thing that changed is my approach. I think, especially in my 20s, I was very need driven. I was what I would call today is need based dating.
Mm.
So, oh, I want somebody to go out with or talk to on the phone. And it's just so funny because I've actually heard a guy say he had girls in rotations. So that if, to have conversations with, I'm like, a
Wow.
rotation, dude? Like,
Uh,
but to me, what that signal was that you're trying to meet a need in this dating process. And I don't think that's the purpose of relationships and dating is, but that's the prevailing thought. Like, let me hop in this relationship so I can get XYZ need met. And but that's a recipe for disaster because then you come in, number one, it sets you up for future disappointment and failure because then the first time that person doesn't meet that need, then you're all disappointed and you're sad and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I think over time I shifted to value based because I'm looking for a life partner, someone I can do, and I like what y'all say, do life with. And so for us to do life effectively together, we need to have the same values. So it's like this is somebody that I can grow with, that I can do ministry with, that I can, if we want to start a business or, or continue our individual business, something like that, somebody that I can do life with in all these different areas. But if I come in with these needs, like I need you to come in and pay my bills and I need you to come in and do X, Y, Z, then it goes awry from day one because you come in with the wrong motive. So I think for me, that was one of the biggest things is that I shift from I'm seeking this dating process, I'm seeking a relationship based upon what I need versus the finding someone who our values align. So that's a biggie. That was a big shift. And the other one, which my mom would probably say amen, was that I was very my way or the highway. Like in my 20s, I had no chill. Like you can hit the road, Jack, don't come back, don't turn around. You could be like the 9 leopards, don't come back over here. I was very much that person, and but that wreaks havoc in a any type of relationship. So I really had to grow and mature in that area to where, I don't believe in compromise, but learning to collaborate with others and knowing that it doesn't always have to go my way and that it's okay to say I'm sorry. Like in my 20s, I would not, it was like, you shoot me first before I say I'm sorry. But, as I got older, I realized it takes nothing off me. And so I was more open. But the thing that I realized is that if I really want a healthy relationship, I needed to, shift some of my mentalities. Now, that's not to say that during those times, every dating situation was horrible, but I think it could have had a different outcome if I probably approached it differently.
That's good. That's good. I think it's good for. I mean, you said so much,
Yeah.
and the two things that you just said that changed for you is having instead of a need base but a value base. I'm like, wow, because
Yeah, that's
a
pretty
lot
good.
of time, yeah, that's good because a lot of times we're not thinking about that. Is I don't want to be alone and all of these other things or whatever needs you say, and I think when we're driven by a need for something, we can lose sight of what is right before our eyes.
Yeah.
We can see the red flags but not see the red flags because there's a need. He pays the bills, so regardless of all the other stuff, or he's doing this for me, or at least I'm not by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm not happy, but at least I'm not by myself.
Hmm.
So that's some good stuff right there. That
Yeah.
is some good stuff. And as well as not from the mindset that, it's just my way or the highway. Not that, because at the same time, I think that I'm a person that believes everybody deserves the benefit of the doubt. And we want to be clear because even earlier when I was saying something not lining up with your values, you said something that I think definitely needs to be magnified. You have to collect more information. So we
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
make decisions without information, because if we make decisions without enough information, we can make the wrong decision. Either way, good or bad, you can miss out on a person that would have been the best thing in your life because you didn't have all the information. We jumped to conclusions. Even that's why I said yellow flags and red flags, because some things just mean you need to pay attention.
Yeah.
Some things mean you need to ask a question. So if I'm feeling, a vibe, or I'm seeing something, then I can address that with you. If we're dating, I can address that with you and see, what comes out. Is there a legitimate reasoning why this happened, or why you did this, or whatever, or is it sounding like you just shooting from the hip to make me close my mouth,
Yeah.
and we have to be honest with ourselves about that when we're asking someone. But I definitely think it's important for people to know that when you're dating, I mean, you're not like the Spanish Inquisition, just putting the person on the witness stand and all of that, but you are collecting information, and the only way you can collect information is back to what Cedric said, and that's talk as well as listening.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, because we're talking about what we're talking about, man, we're really talking about signs here.
Mhm.
And we're talking about, the signs to look out for. And I know you mentioned the signs of you. We talked about the red light, yellow light, green light. We talked about the other signs. You have construction sign letting you know there's construction
Ahead.
ahead. That and one of the things I remember back when I was in the military, I remember we traveled. We used to drive from Kentucky, 15 hours
Mhm.
from Houston to Kentucky. And I remember it was around the first time we drove, and she was driving, and I was asleep. So what happened is
Oh yeah.
the sign told her exactly what to do.
Mhm. And he was
That's
asleep.
good.
And my thing was like, oh, I'm supposed to drive first. I don't want to wake him up. So that goes back to what you said, Jamila. I didn't dig further to get more information, like just wake him up and find out. Because the sign is like
So
a
you
little.
didn't seek wise counsel.
Exactly. I didn't. I
Mm.
didn't. So then we drove, I don't even know how many minutes and going in the wrong direction. And then baby, we'd have been going hours in the wrong direction because he was asleep. I wasn't going to wake him up, but he happened to wake up and he was like, where we going? What you doing? And I was like, I'm driving. He was like, but you were supposed to turn. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I thought I was supposed to go like this. So to me, while you were talking, I was like, ding, 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 ding. That's it. Sometimes even if we see the signs, if we don't fully understand, we still need to collect more information.
Mm.
Pay attention, say, okay, I'm not quite understanding this. Maybe it's me overthinking it or whatever, but you can get wise counsel if you have wise counsel in your life. Talk to somebody that can
Yeah,
give you
I was
wise
asleep.
counsel.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
asleep.
Yeah, or talk to the person, get more information. So yeah, that's good because I saw the sign,
Yeah.
but I didn't fully understand the
And,
sign.
and the point of the story is we were going in the wrong
Wrong
direction,
direction.
and it cost us time off
Time.
our life
Oh wow.
going in the wrong
Yeah.
direction.
But I think life is too precious to waste time and in situations, and especially in relationships that serve good godly purpose. So I think the unspoken goal of this podcast is get that revelation before you
Yeah.
pay out you. Another reality that I picked up from dating. So I'll tell you a story. Story time. So it was probably like 2008. I was dating somebody. I met him at a friend's wedding. Number one, um, you have to see. I need to see somebody several times and not on cleanup day. That's one of the first things I've learned is like, oh, you had your Sunday go to bath, haircut and bath. You was all cleaned up, but that's not your everyday appearance. Aha. But one of the things is that so we were talking, we dated for a couple of months, and then it just went like totally south. And one of my sisters came to me afterwards and she was like, Jamila, all this time you've had standards. Why did you not have standards in this particular instance? And it just stopped me and it made me sit back like, wow. And what happened in that situation is that I was dating the potential of him, which is highly, highly dangerous. You have to date somebody in there for who they are present day.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
It's like when my sister said that, it was like a wake-up call or some cold water on my face. And I'm like, man, let me tell you what I was doing. I was dating the potential in him, but if God tell you to do that. But if not, that is a dangerous thing because who's to say that he was ever going to shift from being who he was present day? You have to look at people's actions. Actions speak very loudly. And like you say, when you get the bike story, well, maybe it's not his mother living with him, it's his or him living with his mother, it's his mother living with him because his mother is sick or had financial time. So okay, that's different than you've been in the basement, you never moved out, this your parents' house. That's a very different context than the latter context. But you have to collect the data, but then you have to look to see, because I think too, if for me personally, I have to set limits on how long I'm going to collect, how long I'm going to let this process go on, because women, and I mean, I can only speak because that's what I am.
Mhm.
We can over collect. It
Oh
could be
yeah.
5 years down the line. I'm
Mhm.
still, we can still say, well, I'm just collecting data. The purpose of collecting data is to make a decision.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so at some point, you have enough data. It's what they call it is data overload, paralysis analysis.
Mhm. Mhm.
Analysis paralysis is one of them. But it's like at some point, you have enough information to make a decision. Yes, I want to move
Absolutely.
forward, or no, I don't want to move forward. Or, and this is the beautiful part about it. I want to move forward as friends, or I want to move forward as something deeper.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm glad you said that because sometimes, back to what I was saying about the lady, sometimes a person is just not the right partner for you. That doesn't mean that you guys can't be friends. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be a good friend. They're just not a romantic partner for you. They're not your significant other. They're not your spouse. And one of the big things we can do to cause ourselves issues is trying to make someone fit in a spot that they don't belong in,
Mm.
because you can't do that. You can't do that. And that's what happens sometimes when you're collecting data too long, because the truth of the matter is what we're doing is we're continuing to give. I said to give the benefit of the doubt. You give the benefit of the doubt, but at some point it's no longer doubt. There's evidence. And we what we're doing is we're trying to justify what we see for what we want. Like, I want you to be the one, so I'm trying to justify what I see. When the truth of the matter is, at a certain point I have to decide, is this something to continue to move on with, to go forward with, or is this something that I need to step away from? And that has to be, only the person that's in the relationship can decide when that's time. But I do think it's important for male, female, whoever you are, maybe you can give yourself a time frame ahead of time so
Yeah.
you already know. If we a year in, or we 6 months in, and this not working, then it's not working. If it's we 6 months in, I don't need to collect any more data. If majority of the data says you're not the one, then we need to decide that we're gonna separate and we just gonna move forward as friends.
Yeah, it's important. That's a lesson we learned back in the elementary school.
Mhm.
We learned when you had I'm talking, you a Tyler, and you had the squares and you had the
The triangle,
triangles,
the
and you
circle,
trying to put
yeah,
the right shape in the right,
the
in the
right
right
hole, yeah.
compartment. And that's something we learn at a very young age. So we can't forget about those little things about if it don't fit. Matter of fact, Johnny Cochran say, if it don't fit, you
You
must
must have
quit.
quit.
That's what that's the truth. That's the truth, man.
Yeah.
That was a bomb right there. Boom.
Boom. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that is so true. And I think what you said, you articulated so well, that we're trying to make the evidence fit what we want. And that's just a recipe for,
But
they
does
don't do that in the court system,
They
you
no,
don't.
know.
no.
Nobody
And
else
wait
does
a
that.
minute, but when it has happened in the court system, that usually calls for something to be overturned, because now you manipulating evidence to prove your point, but that's not considered a fair trial, because that's not real evidence. That's you manipulating the situation.
And just one last thing, and I really feel a push and an urge to say this. One of the best things about my life are the people in it. I have a wonderful support network, family, friends, and that's something that I did not utilize early on in my dating. And
Mhm.
it could save me a lot of headache, because we all have blind sides. And you go in and you have these rose colored glasses, and me, I'm just like, okay, yeah, well, this, he said this. But if in some instances, if I would have listened to the people around me, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache and
Oh
hurt.
yes. Oh
So I think we mentioned it earlier, listen to wise counsel, because part of data is that you don't, you get data from different sources. So yeah, you're trying to get know the person. That's a direct source of data. But then listen to the people who are around you, because they can see things that you cannot see. And I can't stress that enough, and then you have to know who's saying that, if it's a
Absolutely.
jealous girlfriend. I mean, no, but like your brothers and your sister, your parents, most of the times they don't mean you any ill, they want the best for you. So you want to listen to the counsel of people who have your back, who want the best for you, because there are some things we can avoid by listening to others.
Oh,
So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We don't have to fall in the pit to learn
correct.
to listen. If someone can see it and they tell it to us, because sometimes there are times when you can't, like you said, you can be so focused on the potential of a person, or you could be focused on the romantic side of something that you miss, or all logic goes out the window. And when that happens, we do want to listen to wise counsel. So if you have that sister, that brother, that cousin, that best friend, no, you lowering your standards here. This is not you. This is not, this person is far off or whatever. Just listen. And again, you already said it, the people. So I know the people in my life
Mhm.
that tell me, if they say, Sean, you tripping, they saying that because they want what's best for me, versus someone like, oh no, girl, it's okay, because I don't really have people in my life like that. But there could be, someone that's not for your good. But when you have people in your life that's for the betterment of you, then you want to listen to those people. You have information from them.
Yeah, and
Definitely, definitely.
yeah, and this is the key to that, is a lot of times when someone is telling you, "Hey, I see this red flag, or I see this, or I see that," we buffer against that because we have already anchored. We've already made a
Uh-huh.
decision, but
Yeah.
we're parading around like, "Oh, I'm just still." No, you've already made your decision, and now you're not in a place where you're open to receive that feedback and that wisdom that can actually save you some heartache. It's weaved in all the things that we talked about, but my personal lesson is that sometimes I give too much too soon. But
Mhm.
I think it goes back to what Cedric said about listening,
Mhm.
and then too, I think I've anchored too soon. And when you study decision making, that's one of the decision making traps, is that we anchor too soon. And so I've noticed that I'll anchor too soon, but it's like, no, just chill. But I've noticed that as I've matured and have more lived experience and really started being serious, and not to say I wasn't serious before, but like committed to walking out my purpose, living my purpose every day, it's like I can, and really allowing the Holy Spirit to give me discernment in the dating process. That's something I probably didn't talk about, but I've started to use the Holy Spirit in the dating process. I didn't use him previously, to
Come
have that
on now.
discernment so that I don't spend and waste my time. Because I think recently somebody hit me up or something, and I was just like, I could see the signs so clearly, and it's like, goodbye, block, just like that, easy, and foolishness. And then the confirming thing was that I talked to somebody else. They had experienced the same thing from this person. So I'm like, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't being, because some people are like, oh, you're so hard, that's why you're single. No, I have to use discernment. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, so I think that, like you said, it's so different for each person. So click, do a comment below and let us know, how many days in do you feel like you have to make that shift and have that defining the relationship, or
Yeah.
where is this going conversation? For
Yeah.
me, I'm about 2 or 3 dates in before we start having that. What's your view on sex? What's your view on not just do you believe in God, is which God do you believe in? Do you know
Absolutely.
Jesus? Having those hard questions. So about the third date, it's the cutesy stuff is off, and it's like, now I'm really trying to collect some serious, information so that I can make a decision. But that's just me. Comment below to let us know, how many dates for you does it usually take for you
Good.
to
That's
take
good.
to the next level?
Yeah. Absolutely.
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 Comment, like, and share if you found this information helpful today. Head on over to our leadership podcast, Lead to Greatness, where my husband is interviewing entrepreneurs and leaders all around the world. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to hanging out with you again on next week as we continue to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. Bye.
Bye.